We are coming off the heels of the Royal Rumble. Chad Cooper joins me for another edition of This Week in Wrestling. Koopa Loop. We were talking back and forth the last few days and during the event. I thought overall it was a really good Royal Rumble. And when WWE wants to put on a huge event and when they get the machine behind it, there's really nothing like it between the Royal Rumble for the men and the women. We had pretty obvious winners, which is fine. It doesn't always have to be crazy. And then the main event and the post-match scene with the Bloodline and Sami Zayn and everything involving that, just, I mean, for me, about as good as it could get.
Without a doubt, probably. Of course, we don't have a whole lot of women's Royal Rumble matches to go back on. So definitely two of the better Royal Rumble matches. And that says a lot, especially on the men's side, because the men's goes back for decades, and the women's have been really, really good. Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm okay. I with you and with many others was hoping that the Sami Zayn fairy tale ending would be him winning the world title at WrestleMania with that thought.
And we didn't even get Sami in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that's what's even crazier. And then, even before it started, hearing that the men's Royal Rumble match was going to kick off the pay-per-view or the special event. And we're like, no, this can't be. Roman and KO, there's no way. And then after watching the whole card and seeing the ending of just the Roman Reigns match, it's like, okay, yeah, they know a little bit better than me. So I'm just gonna, stay in my seat. But absolutely, just the two matches, the Rumble matches itself, and just the main event, was so good. There were some filler matches that we knew what were going to happen and what were not going to happen. But all in all, it's about as hot as you can get. Perfect timing. Not to say that they wouldn't have competed well with the NFC and AFC championship games, because that the later game, Casey and Cincy, would have probably ended right around the same time this is beginning. But you could have put this thing on a Tuesday night or Thursday night and probably done even better. It was the Royal Rumble is one of my favorite yearly wrestling events.
This thing delivered. It delivered, man.
And it just sets you up for the biggie, man. It sets you up for the road to WrestleMania is officially underway, and it was fantastic. No complaints here.
SmackDown ratings were huge. Raw ratings were huge.
Ooh, man.
And we will head back into SmackDown now with everybody wondering what's going to happen with the Bloodline. A quick look back through the Royal Rumble where we had Cody Rhodes win. He came out number 30, but he did still go 15 minutes, and he had basically a mini match with Gunther, who ends up going 70-plus minutes. He goes 1 hour, 11 minutes and change from the number one spot. He was an absolute star in the match. And you know what? If you would have told me before it's going to be Cody and Gunther that are your last two, that probably wouldn't have been who I predicted. But no, it was good. It was great. It ended up working out beautifully. Sheamus had an awesome run. He went 52 minutes. Him and Drew McIntyre were kind of like the Bash brothers. They were the new age Kane and the Undertaker. Drew went almost 40 minutes, and they together eliminate 7 guys. I think 4 for Drew, 3 for Sheamus. You had a nice run for Johnny Gargano. He went about 30 minutes, and Johnny Gargano won a qualifying match to put himself in the U.S. title elimination chamber. So, Coop, while it wasn't necessarily a really meaningful night for him, it seems like it's kind of like a nice starting over point for Gargano. Kind of like wipe the slate clean.
Sure. And it was one of these Rumbles where you didn't have to have a bunch of surprise. Look, the Royal Rumble is an interesting match, a concept in itself. But if you're solely basing the success of the concept, the match, right? And if you're solely basing that on surprises, then that's not what the Royal Rumble is for. Yes, it's nice to have several surprises and a bunch of callbacks, right? But you didn't need that. You didn't need it for the
I
men's side.
think this was just about perfect because honestly, I like it better when the Royal Rumble is a tool to build to a bunch of other feuds.
I
And they
would have
did
been
that.
okay if all 30 would have been named, and they used to do that. They'd leave a
Absolutely.
couple out, for injuries. You never really know this or that. But yeah, look, if you didn't think Gunther was a superstar, which I don't know anyone who doesn't. If you didn't think he was, now he is. And if you didn't like Johnny Gargano now, what happened in the Rumble and what happened on Monday Night Raw, I mean, it was perfection for these people. Perfection.
You set up a Lashley and Lesnar feud even more with those two guys. You
You even had
continue,
Gunther square off with Brock at one time, I
and
think,
the
and people
crowd
went
really
crazy.
loved that. You had Gunther and Sheamus start it, which was fun as a little throwback to the one of the matches of the year that they had just a few months back in 2022. We had Seth Rollins get eliminated by Logan Paul, which looks like it's going to set up something with them. I kept wondering why Ricochet was coming in towards the end, right? Because Ricochet is someone that you figure smaller guy, he can go in early, last a while, have a couple fun spots. Well, we saw why Ricochet came in at the end because he was going to have just a phenomenal spot with Logan Paul where they jump from the opposite sides of the rings and just collide, which was just badass. Edge comes back and he sets up stuff with the Judgment Day. And so you have, Dominic taking Ray's mask and Ray doesn't even enter. I love when they use the Royal Rumble to set up feuds. And think about last year when it was bad. They didn't do much of that at all.
No.
There were so many eliminations that were just meaningless.
Meaningless. That's the key word. Meaningless.
It's what did that happen for? What was that? All of this
seriously,
stuff felt like it mattered. So much of it felt like it mattered.
And I'm glad you brought up meaningless, because you know what I thought about this? And look, if you're listening to this, you're a professional wrestling fan and geek and nerd like Gino and I. But seriously, you know what this Rumble reminded me of? This one. And maybe I felt it in years past and I just didn't think about it. But it felt like a playoff game. It felt like that,
right.
that every move counted, that every entry, every pitch in a playoff baseball game.
It did. I was a little bit anxious when I was watching it more than normal because I was like, "Oh, is this going to be Cody? Where's Sammy coming out? Oh, Seth is in the mix now, and then you keep seeing Gunther hang around, and you're like, maybe they just are going to strap the rocket to this guy, right? They start teasing you well, and then all of a sudden, when someone like Edge comes out and you hear his music, you don't think he's going to win, but you go,
oh man,
he's
Edge
here with a shot,
Yeah,
and they love.
When somebody, it was so intriguing. The match itself was so intriguing, and when you do get these big entries come in, you kind of go, "Oh, I forgot about Edge. I forgot about this guy was going to be in the Rumble." So that's how good it was for me. I thought every move, every elimination meant something, and that's how it's supposed to be in this type of match.
Yeah, there's a lot of people came out of the Rumble with a good showing, looking good, or having some purpose moving forward. In fact, what's funny, one of the only real gripes I think I had was, damn, Montez Ford was in there for 40 seconds. That was really weird. But then you know what? They've actually got him set up in a qualifying match for the Elimination Chamber. I think they're going to do some instant rehab on him.
Yeah.
I think he's going to win and he's going to qualify. And then all of a sudden, just like with Gargano, the thing you need to do with some of these guys that can go, just let them go. Just kind of take the handcuffs off them for a minute and just let them go out there for 15, 20 minutes and let loose. And we saw that Gargano had a nice match with Corbin where he qualifies on Monday. And in just kind of, talking about the Rumble overall and what's happened since then, you and I love when they can do qualifying matches, when they do number one contender matches, because all it does is just make the same match that you would see feel a little more meaningful. Same word that we were just saying, right? Just matter a little bit more. I thought Monday Night Raw was great because of that. We had 3 qualifying matches. We're going to have 2 more next week on Monday Night Raw. So now you have just a lot of this intrigue in a U.S. title elimination chamber that we now know will have Austin Theory, Seth Rollins
for the U.S. title now,
Johnny Gargano.
This isn't putting Roman Reigns in the elimination chamber. This isn't, whoever wins the elimination chamber is the number one contender for a Raw special in 3 weeks. This is for the U.S. title. And look, I mean, yeah, look, we can nitpick that Royal Rumble match. Where was, there were several people that wasn't in it that could have been in it. There were several people that probably should have lasted longer or did this moon. Sure, there was a couple of botches here and there, but you know what? It sets up for beautiful, great storytelling matches. And when you've got guys like Seth Rollins, Austin Theory, Montez Ford, who can go for 45 and 60 minutes in an elimination chamber. This is why these guys are going to be put in this type match, because Montez Ford needs to win that qualifying match.
Yeah. He's got to win. And then you know what? I think it should be, honestly,
Him?
I think you should have it be either a Ford or a Gargano. I think you should go with a new dude right away, or maybe they're the one who makes it all the way through, last to the end, gets eliminated by Theory, and then you have them win. But I think you beat Theory, because I don't know if I think Theory might face Cena, and I don't know if you need the U.S. title for that.
No, and we talked about that. No, and look, Gargano got that push, on Monday night. So
remember when Gargano beat Theory clean?
Yeah,
in like one of his first matches on Raw just a couple months ago.
That's a good point. I would love to see. I think Gargano is probably one of those guys that he probably needs this title.
Mm-hmm.
He probably does. Now we've been begging for Montez Ford to be solo for a while. We never get it. I don't know if we get it here. It would be interesting if they're still a tag team. And look, you can't throw anything out in professional wrestling anymore. Not with AEW and WWE. You can't throw anything out because we don't have playbook from the 80s anymore.
No.
Yeah, Vince may be back to pushing a sale, but this was Triple H. This is Triple H Royal Rumble. This was his first big, one of the big 2 or 3. You have SummerSlam, Mania, and Royal Rumble, right? So this was his first big one. And he passed with flying colors. But if you think we're going to go back to the what's safe is good, and this guy doesn't need it, or maybe a tag guy doesn't need a singles title, you're crazy, because that can happen in 2023.
We had our guy LA Knight in the Mountain Dew pitch black match. They had the face paint on, and it was the lights. It actually kind of looked okay. It was kind of cool looking. I didn't mind it. That's sort of like the paint that Jeff Hardy has used in times, but only goes about 5 minutes. I didn't really have a problem with a lot of the work. It just sort of didn't get to the next level. It wasn't even a complete burial of LA Knight. Like, it was a little bit of a match. I wasn't sure where they were going. Then they have, Uncle Howdy come out. I do think, because LA Knight did so well through all this on the microphone, that I think he'll be able to just kind of move along from this and on to something else, is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping this isn't one of these things that's like stays with him, because he's done really good work throughout this, and it didn't look bad on Bray's part. Like, I didn't have a problem with any of the ring work. It's just sort of hard to gauge like a 5-minute match in the dark where it wasn't really all that much.
Well, let me be the elephant in the room, and let me be the bad guy, Gino. Are they hiding something a little bit with Bray Wyatt?
Maybe is he not?
He's not ready to go. I don't know why he wouldn't be. Maybe he's dealing with some injury issues. I do have a question. Do you think LA Knight would have been better posed of having a run in the Royal Rumble match, or is he still okay with this? Because
go ahead. What were you going to say?
I think he's better off with this, because I don't think they can deny how hot this guy is now.
Completely agree. I think getting the opportunity and the TV time over the last month to, 6 weeks to build this is probably a lot better than what he would have gotten if he was just going to be another guy in the Rumble.
And who knows, Gino, he could have been one of those 40-second guys, right?
Yeah, right. And if they didn't really have a plan for him, then it probably would have been what he was, just sort of fodder. Here, we got to hear him talk. He was in the ring with Bray and The Undertaker last week on a Monday Night Raw that was like really highly rated, and a bunch of people saw this guy look like a star. So I think this is one of those things where you kind of you almost in like a week or two just don't ever bring it up again, right?
I agree.
He comes out, he cuts a little promo. He's like, that was weird as hell. You know what I mean? And then it's just like on to the next person.
So
Right.
what do you
Like,
do? What do you do with what's on to the next person? He's a SmackDown guy. What do we do with
I think
LA
you could
Knight?
have something fun, maybe like right now with like a Ricochet. I'd
Okay.
like to see some TV stuff for a little while. Maybe find
I would put
him.
him definitely in a hot match this Friday night.
Me too. Me too. I'd want to
Yeah,
keep some momentum with this guy right away. As Bianca Alexa really wasn't much either, you know.
sure.
And I think they're sort of in a weird spot with Bianca right now because we can lead right to the Royal Rumble when Rhea wins. We all figured Rhea was going to challenge Bianca, but that's not the case. Rhea came out on Monday Night Raw and said she's going to challenge Charlotte. She wants to get her win back. Remember, Rhea came up a few years ago, had a fantastic match with Charlotte, but Charlotte ended up winning that match. And Rhea and Liv Morgan went coast to coast in the Rumble. They both went over an hour and 1 minute. Rhea had 7 eliminations. Liv ended up with 3. Rhea actually got attacked earlier in the night during the men's Royal Rumble by Beth. And so Rhea came into the women's Royal Rumble a little bit banged up. And, we had good runs in the Rumble from Bayley. She lasted 27 minutes. You saw Dakota and Io go 20 plus. Zoe Stark came up. She went 25 minutes plus. You had Asuka look awesome with her new look. She went 33 plus minutes. And maybe it's Asuka who comes over with a little more of a heelish look and faces Bianca. You had Piper Niven show back up, which was cool.
Hey, let's give it to Gino. Hey,
Hey, there we go. And
hey.
Chad Koopaloop, Chelsea
Oh
Green,
no.
don't call me Karen, 5 seconds. And you know what? I'd rather be 5 seconds than 45 seconds, right? If you're going to be short, you want to be the shortest one ever and have the record. Set the record.
baby.
And then she looked and sounded really good on Monday night. I mean,
her
she just had
promo's
a
great.
small little segment, but she looked great and she had a really good presence there.
Yeah, she's we've known for a while that she is returning to WWE. I didn't know what it was going to be Monday, Friday, or on Tuesday. I was hoping that would be Friday just because I favor SmackDown, but SmackDown. There's a SmackDown house show coming here pretty soon over the next month or two that I was hoping she would be on one of those matches. But yeah, it's first let's start with Rhea, the winner. This was a match that you and I thought she needed because she's been so good over the last several months with Dominic. Just everything she's done. Now it was a big surprise with Monday night with her and Charlotte because I'm just going to be honest with you. They've had some matches and it hasn't been the best of matches for either one of them. So that'll be interesting at WrestleMania. Liv, bless her heart, she's better without the title. And I hate to say that. She just is. She's better without the title. What do you do with her, though? I don't know. Asuka, that's probably your next challenger at Mania. She's back to her old heel gimmick. She had this, she had a moment there with Carmella. Even though Carmella looked like she's going to be the heel, it's good to see Carmella back. But then again, as you mentioned with Bianca, they're in a very weird place with her, and it's obvious that I don't know if they know. We have Bayley and Becky again in a cage match
on Monday.
You would think Becky's got to be in the mix, maybe Bayley's got to be in the mix. It's got to be a heel. It's got to be a heel, right? So
there's no
very
like
interesting choice here. There's not at all. And maybe that's a match where they put 3 or 4 in.
You're right.
Yeah,
It sounds
yeah.
like it wouldn't
And I hate
shock
that.
you. It wouldn't shock me though if it was like Bayley, Asuka, and Becky, just like you're
Sure.
saying,
No,
right? If
not
you
at
got
all.
a 4-way
Not at all.
or something like that. And then we also have to think about Ronda, who wasn't
That's
on
a
this
good
show
point.
at all.
Yeah, at all. And that's
and-
weird. She just lost the title a couple of weeks ago to Charlotte.
And we haven't seen Ronda or heard from her. A couple others that had good performances. We had Raquel go 20 minutes. Mia Yim, Lacey Evans showed up. She went 14 minutes. Michelle McCool, she was a surprise. Indy Hartwell up from NXT. And we saw Shotzi back and Nikki Cross there. And then She's not like most girls. Nia Jax. Everybody teamed up on Nia to eliminate Nia Jax, which just pissed her off. So
does that mean Nia Jax is back?
I'd imagine so. I think
Well,
so.
she's probably going to be on SmackDown. She wasn't
Yep.
on Raw.
So we'll
So
see.
there's that.
We'll see if Nia Jax is going to be in the mix somewhere. And then the Royal Rumble ended with just an incredible,
man,
like a good match between KO and Roman. We've seen these guys and they're always going to be good. But then the post match where, you have the Bloodline after the match just beating on beating on KO. I mean, chair shots. It's just devastating. And, it's just a massacre. Everyone taking him out and they're stomping on him. They hit the 1D. They put him up against the turnbuckle with the chair and they do the running hip into his head. And then Sammy's just watching like.
He took some nasty bumps, man.
Yeah, he did.
KO got beat bad. He took some really bad bumps.
Fans are chanting, Sammy, and he's looking around and Sammy stands in front of Kevin. So he can't, so Roman's got to hit him. Fans are just going nuts here. Roman says there's no going back. And, Roman said, if you want to be in the Bloodline, you need to do things like this. Otherwise, go and do jackass shit. Sammy is like, really conflicted here. And Roman like pushes Sammy's face. And then Sammy hits Roman in the back with the chair, just like Seth Rollins did in the Shield a few years back. It was great stuff.
So heartbreaking. Now let's honestly. So we've had days to have this simmer, and there was a contingent after the Royal Rumble on Saturday night into Sunday, heading into Monday, that people were like, Cody Rhodes, blah, it should have been Sammy. What tugs at your heart more? Sammy wins the Royal Rumble, and we've got a couple of months of Sammy, with the Bloodline, you're going to lay down in this match, blah, blah, this, because I think we know that we probably weren't going to get Roman defending both titles on consecutive nights, right? It would have been neat and interesting. What if the guy gets hurt on Saturday night or what have you? Do you like the moment of Sammy winning the Royal Rumble, or what happened at the end of this match?
It's hard to say that this wasn't good.
It is.
You know what I mean? It's hard
because he didn't win the Rumble, but this tugged at your heart if you're a Sammy fan.
Now, let me say, I still don't know where they're going. And the only thing I will say is, I mean, I loved all of this. I don't think it should have been done any differently. My only worry is Cody doesn't feel like he needs to beat Roman, right? Like Cody's story was just Cody winning the title, right? That was what his goal was. When he came back, it was to win the title that his dad didn't win, be the Rhodes. And so I never felt like, even now, for Cody, his goal is winning the title. I don't think it matters for him who he beats. I really wanted Sammy to be the guy to beat Roman.
Me too, because I was invested in the storyline.
And so I'll be fine if they end up going in a direction where it's like Sammy and KO and the Usos, or it's something like that. But it'll still feel a little like.
Is that a constellation though?
It does, right? It doesn't feel like that's good enough for Sammy, unfortunately, right now. Like it doesn't.
So here's the tag team title, because if they face the Usos, they're going to
absolutely. Because see, I think it should have been Sam. Like, I don't think they're going to have Cody lose, but like Cody, I think could lose and still have plenty of time to win. Or it doesn't matter who Cody beat. Like, I think you can get Cody back here because Cody's goal is beating Roman. Isn't beating Roman, it's just winning. Once the Bloodline and Roman stuff is done, is Sammy going to be as hot?
Yeah, and that's the thing. If this ends like this, I mean, this is the end.
So like if Cody wins at Rumble or Cody wins at Mania, Sammy and KO win at Mania, like that story's done.
It's officially done. And I think it may,
what happens now at the Elimination Chamber?
I don't know. I don't
because
know.
that's in Montreal.
Does KO and Sammy get the tag team or do they face the Usos and Sammy turns on KO?
Or do we get something like a triple threat match between Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens at the Elimination Chamber?
That could be. I think they're going to wait for the Usos title change at Mania. I think you're going to see a lot of title changes there because that starts the new season, right?
Me too,
so to speak, or whatever. But man, that Cody promo on Monday Night Raw,
it was fantastic.
Look, it was Oklahoma, so Dusty, it was, it was fantastic, and they were hot for him, and I was a little worried.
Me too.
WWE fans can be very fickle and turn on you.
You didn't hear any of that. I think now it may change when you go to a different place here or there, but that was a great start for him.
Yes.
And as far as not getting any of the boos, not getting any Sammy chance or anything like that, his promo was good. And then the Bloodline comes out with Dominic, which was just great. And it leads to a match later on in the night with Cody and with Finn.
Hell of a main event.
Dominic said, I don't respect my dad. I don't respect anyone's dad. I definitely don't respect your dead dad, which was like, oh, nice. So, I mean, I thought a good, really nice weekend, and it like led into a really good Monday Night Raw. Yeah. Coop, but we've hit on some of the things already from Raw. That was a very good main event that ended with Finn and Cody. We had Io pick up a win over Candice, which a lot of the work was good, right? Even this match with Io and Candice was very good. Candice didn't get a win, but it was again distraction and stuff like that. And Candice and Mia are being sort of partnered and paired together right now. So hopefully they can find a little something for these two. They need some tag teams in the women's division.
Are they your next tag team champions? We hear Dakota Kai is injured, and we saw the little segment with Becky, almost breaking her ankle.
So these
could
two,
you see Candice and Mia as your new champs?
I think they could be a nice team to put together. I think we've talked about maybe Shayna and Ronda as a team if they don't have any plans from Ronda. Now, Rhea's promo was a little interesting to me because she kind of came off babyface.
Yeah.
Charlotte is a babyface right now, but I think that might have just been because Charlotte comes back, beats Ronda. So Charlotte probably was going to be the babyface in that feud. But if you put Charlotte and Rhea together, people are going to cheer for Rhea.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I agree.
So good stuff from Rhea. Kathy Kelly, I just have to give her a shout out. She is gorgeous.
Let's talk about it for the next hour. I don't mind.
Gorgeous. And like following her on social media too, she just has like a really good personality. You watch her, she's funny, she's kind of corny. She posts funny pictures and videos and stuff all the time. So shout out to Kathy Kelly. And it looks like we're gonna be possibly getting a Rollins versus Logan Paul match because Rollins qualified along with Theory. First off, Rollins and Gable have a great match.
What a match.
So good. Match, dude. Like, so good. And then Gargano and Corbin have a really good match. Like there was a lot of good wrestling on this show. There was a lot of good wrestling on AEW this week too on Dynamite. Just like a good wrestling week on TV.
We think Otis, he's being recruited by the
Maximum Male Models.
Who's now on Raw. I have no problem with that. I think if he joins them, that's going to be amazing.
It could be really funny.
Hey, Gable could be here's the single push you've been wanting
for Gable. This could be a moment for Gable. Now, I thought the segment with Austin Theory and MVP was really weird.
This was very, very weird.
It was like awkward. Weird. It was almost like the timing, they didn't like the lines were off. Like somebody was off on the script. The timing was off. They were going back and forth. And I just did not. I like both of these guys. MVP is usually really good on the mic, and Theory's been a lot better. But yeah, this was just off. It's like oil and water.
Now Theory got heat there, and then here comes Bobby Lashley. Then it really got interesting, and I'm like, oh no, we're not gonna have Omos come back out here, are we?
Rick Boogs, he likes to rock. My name is Rick Boogs. He likes to rock. And Boog comes out and just gets a quick squash over the Miz, who was pissed off because he had to
Poor
be in
Miz.
his suit.
What are you going to do with Miz at
I know.
the Royal or at Mania? What rock and roll or movie star is coming to Mania that's going to go over on poor Miz?
I know, poor Miz right now.
I mean, he's
Poor-
married to Maurice. I mean,
I never feel
poor
too bad for him
Miz.
for that. Yeah,
No, not at the end of the day. No.
Yeah, Bailey and Becky had their segment that you spoke about. Bailey and Becky will have that cage match next
Now
week.
hey, look, you got to give it to Becky. Bailey. She's trying as much heat as possible.
She's getting
when
heat.
she starts talking about Seth Rollins and your old man, only the reason why he married you because he knocked you up. I went, then here's Becky posting pictures of Bailey hugging Seth Rollins. I mean, man, this
like
is
years
personal.
back. Yeah,
Yes,
I
love it.
She said she tried to steal him before, and so that was pretty funny. Yeah, it was good back and forth, and then Becky took out the members of the of Damage Control, so it should just be a one-on-one match next week. And the other qualifier was Bronson Reed. Reed got a quick squash over Ziggler, which it's a good way to make Bronson Reed look dominant. And again, like it seems like a couple of guys like Gargano and Reed who they didn't really love the way that they brought them up initially. This was sort of a good way to kind of get a start over for them.
Yeah, like I told you, with Bronson Reed on Monday night, the guy can go. There is no doubt about that. And even more impressive, he's a big guy, and I think he's going to take a lot of risk in this Elimination Chamber, match. And I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he won the damn match. I'd like to see some more promos with him, though.
Me too.
Let's speak a little bit. Let's talk a little bit. Of course, you and I know his history, but not your average WWE Arena T-shirt fan is going to know this guy. I'd like to see a couple more promos, but don't be shocked if he grabs that title in Elimination Chamber. Because I'm with you. I don't think Austin Theory needs it with the John Cena match. And I think that's where they're going to end up in Mania. There's no reason for Theory to have that match at all, because he could lose it and be that crybaby loser and just be calling out people, blah, blah, this. And then, here comes Cena. So, yeah, I think this would be a chance for Gargano, Reed, Ford, one of these guys to win it and let them go with a rocket.
Yeah, and then you have Seth have some plans with Logan Paul. And you can have Theory be elevated also.
Because let me tell you what, Seth Rollins and Logan Paul, you can hate Logan Paul. I don't like him. But in the ring, that guy is pretty darn impressive. And him and Seth would tear the house down.
Some of the rumors that I heard too is that, and they make sense when you hear it this way, Logan is really good and really athletic, but he's still so green and early in his career that he needs to really go over the match a lot and kind of work out some of the spots. And someone like John Cena wouldn't have the schedule to do that. They basically just said like it would be really hard for him and Cena to put together a really good match, which is with as good as they both want it to be. Logan can train with Seth all the time.
All the time.
Like
Seth doesn't have to be on TV every week for that.
No, they can workshop this match a bunch, like in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania, and they'll have a couple huge spots, I'm sure, for the match, and it'll be really good. So that'll be fun. And they're setting up the women's Elimination Chamber match. We already know it's going to be Raquel, Asuka, Liv, and Nikki Cross. They were the final 4 members of the Rumble. I loved that they used. I
love that
they did. They were like, "Hey, we're going to use that, and then we'll fill 2 more spots." I love that.
Love it.
Now it just made the Rumble feel a little more important. Next week, we're getting Candice LeRae, Mia Yim, Piper Niven, and Carmella in a fatal 4-way, and one of them will get the other spot, and then there'll be a final spot given.
Who do you book in that match?
Probably. What's cool is that I really do feel like, Carmella just came back, so it wouldn't be a shock to see her. Piper, they gave her a run. They changed her name. I think she would probably be the best choice in that match. Just give you a different dynamic. You have someone has a different presence and unique look. She's obviously bigger, and that'll offer you some fun matchups. And then Candice could use it, but I would go Piper or Carmella, I think.
Okay. So you don't think they do Kansas and since Johnny?
That would be cool. Like Candice needs it more. right?
Right.
I think she could use being in there more than the others. Like Carmella's fine wherever you put Carmella.
I like your Piper Niven. I like that. I can go with that.
And then we saw a little bit of the setup for the men's qualifying matches backstage. The Street Profits and Elias and Boogs were all back there. So next week we have a pretty good Raw coming up in Orlando. We'll have Candice LeRae, Michin, Carmella, Piper Niven in a qualifying match for the Elimination Chamber. Montez versus Elias in a qualifying match. Angelo Dawkins versus Damian Priest in a qualifying match. And Becky versus Bayley in a steel cage. I love that they've already got a bunch of matches booked and promoted for next week.
Do we see both of the Street Profits in there, or no way?
I don't think
Damian
so.
Priest?
I think we get Damian Priest, just the way the
too.
matches look on paper, right?
Yeah, I
Damian
do too.
Priest and Montez Ford, like on the betting board, I think they would both be favored in those matchups.
I got
right?
you. I like that too. Yeah, I like
Priest
that
and
too.
Ford. And then we finished up with a really good main event with Cody and with Finn. So,
Oh man, that was good.
Great week for WWE.
Massive rating for Monday Night Raw. Of course, they didn't have Monday Night Football to contend with, but you know that was massive. Over 2.2 million. That's pretty big for Monday Night Raw.
And the Rumble business, as we mentioned, they broke records, shattered records all over. Gate, money, merchandise sales, just fantastic stuff right now this week from WWE. It's like all of the big weekends now have felt really good. You know, when they've had these
really
big events,
like they're supposed to be, right? It's not the event is over and you're not talking about it anymore, because we've been there with WWE before in the past where you have a big event and Raw supersedes it. It didn't happen. Royal Rumble was magic, man. This road to WrestleMania is going to be very intriguing this year.
We're on the road to NXT Vengeance Day, which is this weekend. So we had a look at NXT that kicked off with Indus Sher, the big boys, with Jinder Mahal beating the Creed brothers. So Indus Sher get the win. There was some distraction, and Jinder was out there getting involved. And I'm wondering what they're doing with the Creeds, because they've kind of done this a few times with them. It seems like they always like to have them kind of lose and get kind of screwed over. When that happens, maybe they'll be a team that eventually like wins the big one at the big one. So maybe they beat New Day in a few months, you know, come Mania season, but they're kind of in a weird spot right now.
Yeah. You know, we can't call everybody up, right?
No.
Because business has definitely picked up on both Raw and SmackDown. I don't know where you could put them if we had to put them somewhere on Monday or Friday nights and not get lost. If you're going to bring up a tag team like that, they need to win the titles, and they're probably not going to win it this soon on the main roster. But yeah, I'm definitely with you here. Their booking has been really, really wonky here
all over the place
the past year, man. And yeah. This is one thing I don't like, because I like the Creed brothers.
They had a little back and forth between Tyler Bate and Axiom. He said, "You remind me of A-Kid," which is who he is. and then they have a really good 10-minute match. Like, these two guys can both go. They're great guys to have on the show. And now they're kind of at the point where you can slot them anywhere. Like, you could put these guys in a match for the title, for the North American title, you know, against anyone at any level, and they're going to give you a good 10, 15 minutes on TV. I think with Bate, you know, him, like, I'd love to see Bate and Dragunov go at it. They were both NXT UK guys, you know, and I'd been reading that Dragunov and Sakamura are people that they really want to get in NXT a little bit, like, have a bigger commitment for them, and then they can go a little stronger with the way they book them. But Tyler Bate and Axiom are solid. Like, good match between those two, and you know, just good guys to have on the roster. You can put them in different spots. It looks like we're setting up for a Sol Ruca Zoe Stark match, I believe, because we get Zoe beating Indy. They were both in the Rumble and they joked about it. But then after the match, Zoe wins and she attacks Indy, and then Sol Ruca comes out to make the save. I think she feels like someone who might benefit the most from what's happened with Nikita over the last couple months. Like, Nikita felt like they were just about to put the rocket behind her, and then she's gotten hurt a few different times, and she's had some some issues. And now Sol Ruka has a look. She's got some unique offense, and she's just kind of different. She's got that like surfer kind of vibe thing I like going on. She seems kind of comfortable and laid back. I like her, Coop. I think she's got some like a big future.
Yeah, I'm glad you compared her to Nikita because it's what Monday or Tuesday. Nikita posted on her Twitter account that she's going to be out for a while due to a leg or knee operation. I like Sol. I do. I have no problems with Zoe. We know how good she is in the ring. I mean, heck, they brought her up to be in the Royal Rumble, and that says a lot.
You think is Zoe like probably one of the next challengers for Roxanne? Just someone that Roxanne can beat in a match, like in a match for the title, and like one of the on TV, or maybe in like in a non-WrestleMania type weekend.
Here's what's interesting about Zoe Stark. It was a failure to put her in a tag team. It didn't work out. Of course, there was injury problems, right? She's so good in the ring. Man, I don't know. I don't know if I would put Roxanne over her. I don't think they're ready for Roxanne to give up the title because I think they like their champions in NXT to carry those two big titles, the NXT championship and the NXT women's. I think they like to have longevity there, but man, they sure are pushing her. I mean, if you're going to start winning matches, you're getting called up to the Royal Rumble, you're going to be in a championship match pretty soon. So it looks like that's the way they're headed. And if Roxanne goes over her, feather in the cap, because Zoe Stark is really, really good in the ring, man. She's probably the best in-ring talent that NXT
I agree.
has.
She's very good, and she's like a good measuring stick type. You know, she would be good on the main roster too. The only issue with her is like we're saying, like I have a problem seeing her like win the big one, right? But she's someone who can always be right there.
Yes.
And having like a cup of coffee with it, right? Like you can always put her into
so she's gonna
be
the bridesmaid. She's gonna be the bridesmaid.
Kind of, right? She sort of feels like someone who, because I don't know how babyface she is. She's a good heel. She's a better heel.
Yeah,
because she's good in the ring and she can just talk shit about it, right? Like, I'm better than you. I'm a badass in the ring. She's really athletic.
We don't need Robert Stone or Valet or anybody to be with her. That's not going to work because, with the tag team stuff, it didn't work.
No. But Zoe continues to do some good work in ring, and I think she might be on the trajectory for a Roxanne, perhaps. The Schism had a little chat, and we started to hear from Ava for a while. We haven't heard from her in quite a bit, but I think there was an injury that they had, so they were off TV and not quite around for a while. But again, they were covering a lot of ground on this episode of NXT. Wes Lee comes out. He sets up his match that he's going to have with Dijak this weekend, and that should be a blast.
Ooh,
like that, I'm really looking forward to those two guys can go, and just the big small man dynamic in there should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is probably one of the matches I'm looking forward to on this Vengeance Day card. I don't know how you book it because Dijak was a person that was brought up to the main roster. No reason to rehash that train wreck, which we thought was a good idea at first, and then it derailed very, very quickly. They brought him back, and man, they've given him a big push, but they just put the title on Wes Lee, and this is somebody that we thought was in trouble when his partner got fired, and then he's been able to maneuver through that with a big singles career. So I don't know how you book that, but this is a match I'm really, really looking forward to, is for that title.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't want Wes to lose here. He's kind of felt a little, the last few weeks we haven't seen as much of him because they've been setting up the match for him. Like we've seen him.
Seems to me more like the NXT championship.
I know you're right though. I know, like he doesn't seem, because if he loses this match, it's hard to bring him back. And I don't know what they're going to do with Braun Breaker here. We thought this is the guy that could be possibly up, relatively quick. Do you think they have a way of maybe getting Tony D involved that could keep one of the other guys strong?
And I think that's what we could be. They could be alluding to, right?
Because Tony D and Stacks, they either attack one of the other guys, and then that way whoever loses has a a way to get out of it,
Yes.
and it
Yes.
won't hurt them as much. And you're right, 'cause
Dirty finish. I like that.
then maybe you can kind of babyface Dijak a little bit more if Tony D screws him over.
Yeah.
That could happen.
You could have Wesley put his legs on the ropes. One of those, those baby face finishes like that are often good sometimes.
Let's keep looking at NXT. What else did we have here on NXT? We had just a little look at Tony D backstage with Stacks. So the injury update on Nikita, which you mentioned, torn ACL, bummer, like 8 to 10 months.
Sucks, man. That's
for
so
her.
bad. God, she was so good.
And then just a video with Braun Breaker and Grayson Waller, setting up the main event NXT title match for this weekend. So a lot of continued build to the big matches this weekend. We weren't sure if it was going to happen before, but now we've got Alba Fire and Isla Dawn as a tag team. So they, you know what? Again, one thing they need on all levels are some of these women's tag teams.
Yeah.
And if you have a couple of women that you don't really have plans for, and you can put them together, and these two can have like a cool gothic evil, heel tag team. That's a little bit different, a little bit unique. I have no problem with this. We had an interview with Roxanne, JC, and Gigi. Now, let me say this. Roxanne in the ring is really good.
Yeah.
My only concern with Roxanne, she is so corny baby face. It is like, it's like a spoonful of sugar. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh my goodness.
Poppin'.
Like it is so much when I'm watching her. It's like just some of the things that made people cringe about like a John Cena, she's just saying her prayers and eating her vitamins.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Taking pictures with Natalie or Natalia, Natty at the backstage at the Royal Rumble. This is one of my idols, my heroes, which is fine. But yeah, I get that. I get it too.
And you need people like that because there are people like that. And it doesn't seem fake. You know what I mean? Like it seems pretty genuine. It's just. It's like,
and then you got Toxic Attraction now with maybe a little rift between them. It's like, wait a minute. So it'll be some false finishes. Those two will like pull each, when one's trying to get the pin on Roxanne, the other one will pull her off. So it should be a fine match. I'll say that.
The card for this weekend is good. I'm going to get to it in just 1 second. Stevie Turner, we saw her in the ring.
She got a new gimmick, new name, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was cool. Just quick, she's kind of like a podcaster, content creator, but let's give her a few matches and see how high they are on her. It looks like Kiana James and Fallon Henley are going to be taking a shot at the tag team titles because that's a match that got set up for this weekend, and who knows? Maybe the bar's on the line also.
That bar has the title of that bar. The guy who owns the property is trying to get money for them. And it passes on from owner to owner every week on NXT. Man, it's like Roadhouse. Somebody's coming in to get the bar.
Oh, and
hey, what'd you think about Apollo Crews, his promo?
The Apollo stuff is just, I don't know what they're doing with Apollo. You know what? He's more it's almost like it's a joke, like a running joke. Like
it's like a rib. It's
like they're popping the boys in the back or something with it. And the thing about it is he goes out and gives us great matches all the time, but gosh, they don't. Somebody said it was like a while ago. It was like That's So Raven. And like you can see it.
That's so Apollo.
That's so Apollo. But Apollo will have a match this weekend. I mean, the card is good. So it's Apollo and Carmelo, 2 out of 3 falls. We've got Wesley versus Dijak, North American Championship. We've got Women's Tag Team Championship, Carter and Chance versus Fallon Henley and Kiana James. Women's title, triple threat, Roxanne, JC, Gigi. And we've got the men's title, Braun versus Grayson Waller. and then the NXT Tag Team Championship match, where we have 4 teams in the match, and one of those 4, Chase U, baby. Finally.
Man, hey, what a main event on
This
NXT.
was good.
What a moment for Chase U. I thought it was fire. I thought it was money, man. I thought it was a good main.
It was great, and they don't usually win in big matches, right? Have we seen them on a pay-per-view ever?
No, and I don't think they've won very many matches, maybe a singles here or there.
So I'm pumped for them getting an opportunity. That should be a blast. Gallus, Pretty Deadly, The New Day, and Chase U will be in that fatal 4-way. So that's this weekend. That's on Saturday, right? NXT Vengeance Day, another big WWE show, NXT show coming up this weekend. Coop, let's finish up with AEW. Now, this was like a perfect microcosm of what I love and don't love about AEW all on the same show. In that
agree.
There were like 4 matches that were really good. Like, awesome. A lot of this show is really good wrestling. And then there's like 4 or 5 production things or like storyline things that were just bad.
Yes.
That were like, how could you have that happen on a television, like on a national TV show? Like, how did you let that go down? And that's sort of the issue I have. And then also the great thing about AEW is that when you just flip on a Wednesday night, some nights you're going to get 3 or 4, 10 or 15 minute matches that are very, very good.
And they delivered in that department.
They did.
Give them credit.
They did. They were like, we're going to go through 4 different matches on this card that I thought were very good. And Moxley Page kicks it off. And the match is I mean, these 2 guys are both excellent. There's just some sort of weird stuff like about the way they're kind of going through the match, which was kind of funny. Like, he puts a figure 4 on him when they're like beating each other up, which is kind of weird. Like, they're like going to blows and then someone locks in a figure 4. It just sort of felt like a little bit out of place. But they go at it. The only thing I don't love is, again, they're sort of selling the kind of head injury stuff.
Yeah.
Right? With this match, when we know that there are legitimate guys and gals on this roster who have just had head injuries. And we're going to see that again later on in the night. Great match to start, though. I mean, these 2 guys are 2 of the best. But, like, who am I rooting for? Who am I not in this spot? And I guess this will probably set up, like a last man standing match or something like that, do you think, between these guys at the pay-per-view?
Yeah, and we probably need to be done with it after that. Yeah, you talk about the way matches work and that, and I'm pretty hard on AEW about, you have a great point in the head injury stuff that it seems like week in and week out we're getting in these matches. And what's also week in and week out that we're getting, and they're not even hiding how it's being done, is when somebody bleeds. I mean, now we need to know. Look, production needs to know when someone's going to blade. Look, that
was awful. We saw him cut
it was just brutal to watch and see.
See somebody cutting themselves. And the other note that I skipped right over, which was the thing that frustrated me the most, is that, okay, I know we've seen this happen before, and it's happened on the territories. It's happened in WWE. But knowing what we know now, I don't like the fact that they're throwing a beer in this guy's face.
No,
I don't like that at all.
No,
this guy,
I did not. I thought that was real.
And here's the thing,
crazy.
right? I don't know if it's a real beer. It's probably not, right? I don't like the fact that you're saying it's a beer when we all know that this guy left to go to rehab recently.
It's tacky. Let's call it what it is.
We've seen it with Jake the Snake Roberts. They did it with him. They did it with Punk, even, right? And like some of the Punk did it. They've done it with. I don't like it. I don't like it. I've never liked something like that. I think you can get heat in other ways. I don't think the beer stuff does anything for you. That bothers the hell out of me when you've got a guy that seriously went to rehab because he was talking about all of his demons and having thoughts of wanting to kill himself, and he has a brand new baby and a family, and his wife
wife's
is
there.
on a part of this. I don't like that.
Yeah, I agree. Good point.
Just
Very
a couple
valid
like
point.
cringy things, you know, like we talked about a few weeks ago, even the thing with Ricky Starks doing the lisp, you know, with Swagger, like just little things like that I don't, it's not likable for
and it's not edgy.
No,
it's not. Look, and that's the deal. They're bleeding every week too. I've never been a big blood fan in wrestling, but when it happened, it was the moment that you're like, oh my God, this guy's, he's busted open. He's bleeding. I don't feel that way anymore with wrestling at all. And it's just being done way too much. And I know you're trying to you're trying to shock people into things. I don't think that's the way AEW grows is by having guys getting beer thrown in their face or making fun of someone who has passed or blading every week. I totally agree on that point. That's stuff that needs to change.
It's funny. You have two companies who do it totally opposite. WWE doesn't do it at all anymore.
At all. You better not. We don't even do headshots, chair headshots anymore.
Nothing. Again, though, I feel like my critique, because if we wanted to go through the match for 15 minutes and praise a lot of the work, we could go through every move.
100%.
Overall, it's a great match. It's just that this is what you need to do to move forward is the full package. It's got to be now your production level, your storytelling has to be on par with your in-ring work. And it's not like in this match, I didn't like the beer thing. The blade stuff was horrible. And it's just kind of weird about like, they do this a lot in AEW, which I guess it's fine. But for me, I like having a little bit more distinct heels and baby faces in particular feuds. You don't always have to be just a bad guy or a good guy, but in a feud, I sort of think it's best when you sort of know who you're supposed to cheer for and boo. And a lot of the times they don't. Now, Paige played the heel a little bit more because this is close to Moxley's home where they were. So Moxley was kind of more like the baby face here, but we'll see moving forward. We have the Bunny, Butcher, and the Blade with backstage with Jamie Hayter. Bunny challenges Hayter, and then we saw Saraya and Tony beat up Britt Baker, which was kind of funny. It led to a moment later where Britt was in the back and Ruby Soho comes in and is like, "Are you okay?" And Britt's like, "This is awkward. What do you mean? We don't like each other. I thought you were friends with them." So we're getting the full Britt Baker face turn now.
Yeah, it like happened in a week. Or 2 weeks, right?
All of a sudden, Saraya and Tony Storm are just the most evil people in the world, you know? And like Britt is just like, great. It's funny how it just happened, but we're there. Now, I don't know where exactly we're going with like the Acclaimed and the Guns. So the Acclaimed basically have a squash. They win. They called these guys the Bootleg Beverly Brothers, which was a great line. A great line.
Outrunners. Wasn't it the Outrunners?
Oh, and you know what? Shout out to you know who was the manager for the Beverlys? The Genius. He came out with them, right? Like the Brothers Beverly. I remember him cutting him cutting the promos for them sometimes. And Lanny Poffo just passed away a little earlier on in the day as Chad and I are recording, the brother of the Macho Man. And the Acclaimed, they win. Guns come out. They have a little back and forth. And this is going to lead to... So here's what doesn't make sense about this. Why is Billy Gunn acting like these guys are all in a faction together? He's like, why are you guys mad at each other? Why are you guys fighting? Well, because they're two different tag teams fighting over the tag team championship. What do you mean, why are you fighting? He's acting like they're all a part of DX and they're like fighting with each other. The Guns and the Acclaimed aren't like a faction. They're not friends. Of course they would be fighting. It's like this, the story doesn't really make sense here to me. Why is he pissed off? So is this all a ruse? Because then Billy Gunn says, you're going to have a match next week. So he basically books a match on his own for the tag team titles next week. And the Acclaimed are like, what the hell? Why are we defending the titles here? Do you think this is, if this is a swerve, that would be the only thing that makes sense. If this was like Billy just doing all this to set up so that way his sons could win the title, okay, that at least makes sense. That would be very stupid for AEW to do to one of their most over acts right now, to split Billy and the Acclaimed. I think people, dude, I was in that stadium 2 weeks ago. When those guys came out, everyone is scissoring everybody next to each other. They are over as hell. I do not think you want to break these guys up right now. So it's either the story doesn't make any sense at all, or it makes sense and you're going to break up a really overact. And I don't think either one of those are good.
No, I don't think it's a swerve. I just think it's bad booking, Gino.
Right? It's bad booking and bad storytelling. Yeah, I just not sure on that. Jack Perry, Jungle Boy, says that he's gonna go by himself and try to become a champion this year. Just gonna go quick promo, maybe like a little reset for him. That's fine. They had him in a little tag team with Hook. I could see him being someone that would be just like a fun match for Samoa Joe at a TBS champion, you know?
Or Ring. Yeah, you know, if you're going to focus on Ring of
MJF,
even
MJF, because MJF's not some big, like, they would have a good match, and they're both quote unquote the pillars, right? Wasn't Jungle Boy one of the pillars? They were the four young guys that, you know, they're supposed to build the company around, and so I could see he has a couple with some of these heel champions. There are a few good options out there for him. You just got to let him. I sort of feel bad for him because he just never got to get the big win he was supposed to over Christian. And I think that's really hurt him moving, you know, like that was supposed to be a win for him. And then he was supposed to like shoot up the card after that. And then Christian got hurt and he's just been kind of floundering.
Yeah. And I didn't understand why they immediately put him together with Hook, Jungle Hook, or whatever they were calling them for however many weeks. He needed to be solo anyway. So at least we got a promo by him saying, hey, it's time for me to do my solo thing. So yeah, you know, the problem is with him, he's just so undersized. You know, he's so undersized.
I know.
And so when you have a match with him versus Joe, you know, it just looks like, oh man, I'm not saying it wouldn't work, because it would, because those
you sort of just had that with Joe and Darby, and Darby's a little bit more extreme, you know, in the ring than Jungle Boy, or than Jack Perry is. But let's see where they can go with Jack. We went to again, really good match, Takeshita and Brian Cage, and Takeshita gets the win over Brian Cage. These guys go about 10 minutes, and they're actually setting up Takeshita to have a match with MJF next week. It's going to be a world title eliminator match, and MJF actually comes out after the Bryan Danielson match, and he saves Bryan Danielson from getting attacked by MJF. So they have a sort of like a side story going on with MJF and Takeshita, who MJF calls Take a Shitta, and we have I actually could see Takeshita winning the match by DQ. I could see that happening. I could see like MJF walking out, Bryan Danielson coming in or doing something, and then that setting up a down the line match for Takeshita. I don't think MJF will like lose a match clean, but I could see him not even like wanting to wrestle and bailing on it somehow. But hey, you know what? They're giving this guy a little bit of a push. It's just sort of hard again with someone like him. Can he get over without cutting the promos? In this day, in the modern age, you can get over a lot more, and you can even have subtitles on your promos fine.
Yeah, Asuka's been able to do it without an issue.
Mm-hmm. So you know what? They seem high on this guy. They keep giving him a lot of TV time in a lot of big matches against some of the top guys on their roster.
Well, here's the thing, I don't have a problem with any of that. I do have a question or two. If we're going to be down on WWE for having their champions in non-title matches and call them title eliminators, we need
I don't
to do
like that at all
with AEW. And what I didn't like is, didn't we see a brawl between he and MJF, and then after that, immediately after that segment,
MJF was in different clothes
with a briefcase, and I'm like, what are we doing?
Again, the production was completely off. They at one point Excalibur said, and let's go backstage to Renee with MJF, and it was a completely different segment that he threw to.
And here's a question I have, because we've been so high on him. Does MJF feel a little coldish right
Absolutely,
now?
right now. 100%. And I don't even know what it is. I don't know if it's even like that. He's a smaller guy even, but like when he walks down to the ring sometimes in his like regular clothes, he doesn't come off to me as big of a star. I don't know.
True.
I just, the way, something about the look the other day. And my concern was, okay, this is how they've built a lot of MJF's matches, where the guy has to go through a gauntlet in order to get to MJF. And then, we go backstage to the Jericho Appreciation Society, and Jericho has to talk about wanting another, Ricky Starks wants another match. So they're going to make Ricky Starks go through the gauntlet in order to get another match against Chris Jericho,
who he's
already beat clean. He's already beat, not clean. He beat Jericho in a match where they were screwing him over and he won, which felt like the end of the feud. I don't have any problem with another Ricky Starks Jericho match. I don't know why you're making it seem like Ricky Starks has to go through all of this to get a match with a guy who he's already had a match with and beat clean.
Well, is it punishment to Ricky, who was spotted backstage with Cody at the Royal Rumble?
At the Rumble, him and Cody are really good friends, and so Ricky was there.
No, it's not punishment. Of course, it's not.
No.
It's stupid. I was just being funny, but I just didn't understand why. Look, I beat the guy. I want one more shot at him, but I have to go through the whatever something.
The Garcia Guevara gauntlet. He's got to beat Angelo Parker, Matt Menard, Daddy Magic, whose nips are hard, and yeah, man, it's just
it's just bad booking.
Well, this is between the Blade shot at the beginning, the beer thing,
the MJF,
the MJF off
gets beat down, brawl,
the bad timing of the brawl. Those are just 4 or 5 things on your show that, Chad, like anyone that listens to this show, when we have a guest on that help me critique like the Marvel movies and TV shows and the Star Wars movies and TV shows, I'm doing the same thing. Absolutely. On those shows.
100%.
If the storyline doesn't add up, we're talking about it. We're saying this doesn't make sense. Why doesn't this story make sense?
And it just, look, again, I think week after week, I bring it up and say that's the biggest problem I have with AEW is the storylines. And again, this is obviously something they don't really care about, which is fine. But if you're going to tout numbers and you're going to tout we're the big boys with the WWF or WWE and all this stuff, you can until you start doing things a little bit better in the storyline department, because you're going to get a million, here and there, but is that really growing? I just don't understand. We're 3 going into 4 years now, why they haven't been able to figure out the production stuff when you've brought over all these production people from WWE, Jim Ross, Arn Anderson, The Big Show, Mark Henry. These are guys that worked and booked matches backstage, but we can't get anything right on camera. I'm not going to YouTube to figure out to see if Ricky Starks or see if Private Party's doing this or not. This is something you have to fix on Wednesdays. And if you fix that, then this becomes a lot better product. And we're not spending 20 minutes talking about these little bitty things that drive us insane, because they add up to a lot of stupidity, Gino. They really do.
It's one of those things where, like, and it's sort of, it's a little unfair at sometimes, but the wrestling is so good that we are, and it is in WWE, it is too, and in Impact it is too, though. You know what I mean? In New Japan it is too. Like, just the level overall of like the floor of a match is so much better than it was 20 years ago or 30 years ago, right? Like what we're getting on TV week to week is great. And as I said, if you turn the volume down and you were someone who just threw this on in the background and most of this show you would be entertained, but the things that you can point out, the 4 or 5 things, they're all big things, and they really kind of handicap AEW from continuing to grow.
No, let me ask you this, because you brought it up. You brought up Marvel and you brought up the Star Wars, the big movies, the big series franchises. So if you're critiquing a movie, whatever it is, Marvel, the new Ant-Man, I saw the previews for it. So if the ending is pretty good or spectacular and they have 2 or 3 very good moments into the movie, does that make it a success?
It doesn't. You think, like, you remember those, but the problem is it can't build.
You remember the bad parts more than the good, because look, Gino, you and I both, look, we've been in the media eye for years and years. Hell, I'm 48. Half of my career has been in the media. I'm going on 21, 22 years. A lot of people don't call in or post on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram and tell you how good of a job you've done.
No, they don't. They just stay quiet.
These people complain. So you remember the more bad takes than the good. And I just, I look, these matches that they had were so good this past Wednesday night.
Thatcher, we knew from NXT. I've announced his matches.
I hate the fact that they stole him away, because I thought that guy would be immediately brought back by Triple H. And hell, maybe Triple H called him and offered him this and said, no, AEW is going to pay me this, and they parted ways. That was a hell of a match.
Great, 14 minutes. So again, we're talking the opening match that goes like 15, the Brian Danielson Thatcher match, the Cage Takeshita match,
and the main event.
The main event, you have 4 matches that are 10 minutes plus that are all awesome. I would recommend, don't skip those matches. Watch them. You don't need to fast forward through them or anything. They're really good, but they all could be a little bit better, or the stuff around them could be better. Isn't that what you want? When you have people already there watching your great matches, don't you want to tell them a little bit better of a story too, for some of the other people that need that? That need really? You and me. You and me are the guys that need the story a little bit more.
Successful people, and I'm not judging the cons at all. I mean, hell, look what happened to the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. They made a great decision bringing Doug Peterson in. Successful people and successful business ventures thrive by you trying to hire better people than you are at certain things so they can make the company better. There's so much talent at AEW, in and out. I just don't know why they can't figure this stuff out. I can't. Hell, I'm not the biggest New Japan. You know more about New Japan than I do, but I recall the few times that I've watched, and I'm not talking about botches, because that happens. I'm talking about things that happen production-wise and match-wise or storytelling-wise. I don't recall that stuff happening in New Japan.
It doesn't really.
It doesn't.
We would joke about it in the Dixie Carter Impact too. Well, it doesn't really happen in Impact as much as it used to either. Like,
it's a lot tighter there now, and I still watch that because I've got some friends in that organization. It's a lot tighter than what it used to be.
It's a good watch when you watch the show. They don't have as much of
their pay-per-views. Their pay-per-views are damn good.
Name stars as they were trying to, which is fine. Like, I don't think they have this bloated roster that they have to pay anymore. That probably killed them for years, having to pay some of these like past their prime stars. They've got a lot of really good talent there. So I agree. It's just, I'm critical of the things that I'm also
that
critical
matters the most
with WWE.
That's what it's for, though. That's what it's for us to critique that what we think matters a lot in professional wrestling.
Swerve Strickland. They named the guys, right? We got Parker. What was the other guy's name? Flash. I mean, it was something Scratch, something bizarre. I thought I wrote it down, but I didn't. But this is kind of a little bit sad in what we've seen. Where's Keith Lee?
Oh man,
and
it's just not good. It's not good.
And Swerve doesn't feel like a few weeks ago when he was in the feud still and was, still like in the tag team stuff with the Acclaimed, it felt like Swerve could break off and become like a really good heel in the company, a singles heel. He's kind of cold right now. Again, it doesn't feel like he's been on the forward trajectory. Now, MJF paid Roosh some money in the back. He asked dipshit Jose to translate what Roosh was saying. So next week we're gonna get Bryan Danielson versus Roosh.
And again, we're gonna have a hell of a match.
We will.
We will.
Nobody thinks Bryan Danielson's gonna lose.
No.
Roosh will lose. He'll look good. And we get to the TBS Championship, Jade Cargill versus Red Velvet. And
picture in picture.
Just, a real bummer here because this is 50. This is her 50th win. She's 50-0, and we're going to go back to Red Velvet for, I think, the third time.
Oh, man.
And we don't have look, it's not that they don't have anyone for Jade anymore. Right now, they've brought in plenty. There's someone like a Ruby. There's someone like
what about Storm? What about Serena Deeb even?
Serena Deeb. There's
Mercedes
a lot of
Martinez, who's the ROH Women's Champion, I think. Where is she?
And it's not a coincidence that they have kept Jade in her own world. She's not ever come close to anything with a Britt Baker, Toni Storm, Jamie Hayter, and Saraya. Those are the women who they think are the top. You see how they're given segments, the matches they're given, they're all involved in the championship. And she's just been off. And I don't know, is it that she's not been able to improve enough in the ring? They don't trust her there. I don't know, but it's very weird at this point for her to have had 50 matches, 50 wins. They didn't really make a big deal out of it either for her. They made a big deal out of Jungle Boy when he won 50 matches like 2 years ago. They gave him a big plaque and a ceremony. And they didn't make this a big deal at all for 50 wins, undefeated. Why isn't she wanting to go get the other women's championship?
Yeah, I would have done everything I could to, honestly, seriously, and I'm not comparing. What's the difference between her and Goldberg? He wasn't very good in the ring.
No, but
so why can't they do this with her?
And just from if I'm watching this in real life, why doesn't she say she wants the other title? Why doesn't she say I'm better than all of you? I'm going to go after all of you. Yeah. At least have her say, I don't care about that. I've made this the title, right? Give me something like that at least.
I agree.
So I have a reason why. And then the second thing, why am I booing her? She beats everybody impressively. And then after the match, she comes out and she's hugging her daughter. Why am I supposed to boo her? It's not even like she cheats in the matches.
It just, if you're going to push her, which I think she's talented enough to get it done, you've got to turn her into a Goldberg type. And they haven't been able, to do it with her. I'm with you. I just don't get it, man. I don't get it. We talk about her a lot, and it just nothing ever seems to change.
In the same match, somebody came out, attacked her partner at the ring, who was allowed to be there.
Layla
Gray was supposed to be. It was fine, and it's hilarious. Everything about this, Jade was sort of positioned like the baby face. 50-0 for Jade. We already talked about the little backstage between Britt and Ruby. And then we have a main event where Darby Allin just comes running out with a jacket with thumbtacks on it and just goes diving into Samoa Joe. I really like Darby, man. He's good.
He's a star. He is. He's a star.
He just the way he moves is different. And I think for as much as we've critiqued a lot of AEW things, almost every time he's in one of these main event matches, they do really well. The ratings are good and the match is fun and entertaining. And I worry about this guy, man. He's just taking these bumps.
His longevity, you mean?
I know. God. It's but you know what? People said that about Foley and they said it about Jeff Hardy. You know what I mean? And they were around for a while. But here's again what I don't get. Match good. Samoa Joe gets the win. And then after the match, here comes a Wardlow. This guy was just made to look like an absolute jobber a few weeks ago. And now, like, why do I care about another Wardlow versus Joe match? These guys were a team. They had a match. They had a feud. And Joe beat him clean. One of the things that AEW had said early on for a while was they weren't going to do a bunch of rematches. I mean, how many of these feuds are being replayed? We're going to get a Moxley Page third at least match, which I actually don't even mind. You and I have said a few times that they should have had other rematches when they didn't in feuds that were good. But this is weird. Like, why do I care about Wardlow? I don't know.
Not for this. And he's been missing why not? My question is, and they have these scrums. Where's Miro? Why wouldn't you bring him out in this position?
If
he's hurt, come out and say this guy can't work for a year.
Because AEW will literally tell us when Jon Moxley goes to rehab.
Right?
You're not going to tell us that Miro is hurt? Like, you are trying to be the real company. Oh, hey, you know what? Miro is filming a movie, but he checked in with a promo from the set, right? Give us that. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
that's it. Or Miro, I needed some time off. God was angry with me, something like that.
Lana was driving me insane.
Whatever. Give me something. But, it's funny because for a lot of the critiques, the matches were fantastic again.
They were, absolutely.
It's Chad and I have discussed every episode of AEW Dynamite on this show since they've started. It was like right around the time we started doing this when they were having weekly episodes. And we like the wrestlers on the show. We know some of the people personally. I enjoy watching it a lot. Like I've said, I do the same thing with the Star Wars movies and shows and the Marvel movies and shows I watch and the TV shows I'm watching. This is good. This is interesting. Ooh, that could have been better. Or, ooh, that should have been better. Or, ooh, they could have done it that way. And people write fan fiction and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it comes down to. So good in-ring stuff from AEW. Let's see if they can continue to get the storyline stuff better, the production stuff better, just clean it up a little bit there. Koopa Loop. No football this week, but we got the big one. We got the big one next week. So next week I'm going to give you some homework. Get a fun prop or two. Have a fun prop or two.
Love the old props.
Talk next week, and then after that we can start talking a little bit in some of these weeks about maybe like your Houston Cougs and some good little college basketball moving in at the end too. So this week, clear that mind and let's get ready. Let's get ready for some props next weekend for the big one, my man. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We talked a lot of Rumble, some AEW, some NXT, and I'm really excited for SmackDown for Friday. I mean, what's going to happen with the Bloodline next? I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, it's been a great week for wrestling. Royal Rumble, Raw. I mean, hell, it was a great Friday night SmackDown before the pre-Rumble, and then going into that, NXT was good. AEW had great matches. Who's coming back? Who's debuting this Friday night? The Bloodline in itself is the reason why we're probably tuning in. Great week of wrestling. Just because there's no football, there's always a good week of wrestling, Gino.
And this is when wrestling picks their game
thrives. Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Because they know that people are watching more, so they save some of their best material for right now for the road to WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, definitely 100%.
Make sure to give him a follow at the Chad Cooper. Koopa Loop. You can check him out on Twitter and on Instagram. He's here with us each and every week talking everything in the world of wrestling. Thank you so much, buddy. You have a great weekend.
All right, Gino.
So, thanks so much, folks. Appreciate you hanging out with us, and we still have a lot more to come on this episode of That's What G Said.